can an African be a foreigner in Africa?
The answer is a categorical no. In particular, as we mark Africa Day, we have to revisit the debates and the vision which was painted in the formation of the African Organization of African Unity. It's a pity that today's African states make this possible through their citizenship and immigration policies. But it only proves that Africa is not yet free. The day Africa is truly free is when no African will be a foreigner in Africa.
Thank you, Katie. I just want to start by saying Africa Day reminds us that as Africans, we share a common history, shared struggles, and in many ways a shared destiny. So ideologically and spiritually, many Africans believe an African should never feel like a foreigner in Africa. But Katie, practically, we still live within sovereign nation states where citizenship, borders, legal systems matter. Countries are not run on ideology and spirituality alone, Katie. They are run on through laws, institutions, economic capacity, and governance. So yes, Africans should feel welcome in Africa, but we also need honest and balanced conversations about what that means in practice. Pan-Africanism cannot mean the collapse of state responsibility. Many South Africans are not rejecting Africans simply because they are African. Much of the frustrations we are seeing on the ground, they come from deeper issues such as high unemployment, weak border management, pressure on social services, organized crime syndicates, and border failures of governance. So what we should be asking, Katie, is not whether Africans belong in Africa. Of course they do. We should be asking, how do African states manage migration fairly, legally, and sustainably in a way that protects both citizens and lawful migrants? Because ultimately, South Africa's migration debate cannot be approached only from an ideological perspective while ignoring governance realities. This is fundamentally a governance debate. As I conclude, Katie, I want to emphasize this. Pan-Africanism was never meant to mean the abolition of national responsibility, because a compassionate immigration system still needs credibility.
Those, let's say, rational, reasonable, positions which accept African colonial borders were actually won during the debate in 1963, where people like leaders like Kwame Nkrumah were saying, yes, it's fine, we are now free in Ghana, we are free in Algeria, but let us form a federation of African countries with a view to eventually becoming one African state. And then he said, Nkrumah and others, if we don't do that, we'll never be free. We will perish.
Do we have historical examples of diversity existing on the continent?
South Africa is a good example. Johannesburg. Look at the people who built Johannesburg. It was labor, African workers from Malawi. In the gold mines, primarily from Mozambique.
I'm glad my fellow panelist member mentions things, only Johannesburg as an example, and not anywhere in the world where what they are advocating for has been implemented. Katie, Pan-Africanism cannot survive without functioning states. And currently what we are seeing in Africa are states that are not functioning because of lack of governance, because of corrupt government officials in these other states, which push people to come to South Africa. So when people want an open border Africa, they mean open South Africa.
Let's talk concretely. So, at the moment in South Africa, we are faced with the emergence of right-wing movements, of xenophobic movements, which are based on those arguments that Africa should have colonial borders. People are
there is no such a thing as xenophobic movement. Please, let's not allow a misinformation to spread here.
Just give Trevor an opportunity to speak, Princey. Go ahead, Trevor.
There are political parties, Action SA, Patriotic Alliance, Inkatha. They are mobilizing for the local government elections on the basis of anti-immigration xenophobic laws. So let's take a clear stance. Let's condemn anti-immigration perspectives. Let's condemn xenophobia. I want then, if my fellow speaker wants to debate this issue, she must come out clearly and say, well, xenophobia is wrong. Yes, let's have orderly movement of people without attacking people for not being born in South Africa.
Princey, your final response to that, very briefly, please.
I do want to emphasize that there are no xenophobic movements, and I thought we were speaking to a professor here who will use studies and statistics, research material to make his point, but unfortunately he's politicking. I want to say this again. South Africans are not xenophobic, and I think reducing every public concern, genuine concerns to xenophobia prevents honest policy discussions about migration system, border control, economic pressure, and state capacity.